All right, Mick Jagger, I'll take it from here. My name is Daniel Gray. I am the TrailerPark Prophet, coming at you live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado, live on Blog Talk Radio. This is Sunday on Monday. Thank you very much for being here. I'm glad to be working over the holidays. I hope everyone is home safe and warm and happy with family and pets. And if you're not, well, get over it. That's just too darn bad. You got to get in the spirit. I mean, you don't gotta, but why not? Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't spend too much. Just try to be a good human out there in public. Be extra nice around the family. Do the little things. Let the person pass in front of you. Cut ahead of you in line. You know, just always be blissful. You have to be in the moment. Live in the moment. And enjoy the most simple things. Because those are really the things that we best understand. I know we try to talk about the world situation and the human condition here on the Trailer Park Prophet Show, but you know, it's a complicated thing sometimes being a human. The old football isn't round. Sometimes it bounces for you, and sometimes it bounces against you. So have a good time. You carry your spirit with you. And there's no need to use angry, mean-spirited rhetoric. There's just no need for that. And I know a lot of you people out there are rude to store attendants. Don't do that either. You know, and I'll bet you if someone did a poll, a scientific poll, I'll bet you progressive socialists and liberals are meaner to people that wait on them, like at Walmart or Tiffany's or wherever, than are conservative people. Because we've seen polls, we've reported on polls that conservative people are generally happier than liberals. Liberals, just by definition, means that they have to be unhappy and hateful and mean-spirited and aggressive and angry and vindictive and vitriolic, and that's just the MO of a progressive socialist. They're not happy people. They're angry. They feel like they somehow have a corner on logic and philosophy and government, what form government should take. And anyone that doesn't think the way they do, like on climate change, well, they just kind of disown them. They're dead to the progressive socialist. If you don't believe in global warming, you shouldn't even be heard from. I mean, that's the new tack they're taking now. Now they're saying in the media that the idea that there is no global warming caused by human burning of fossil fuels, that those people are deniers. Deniers, like the Holocaust. That's how dramatic and drastic progressive socialists are. And they don't really talk as much about science as they do demonizing people that disagree with them. Demonize them. You know, this is Edward Bernays. This is Sal Alinsky. Don't discuss the issues in an academic way. Attack your opposition. Demean them. And now they're to the point where if you don't believe in global warming, you have a label called denier. And we were talking about one website won't even allow for deniers on the website anymore. So now we've gotten to the level of Fahrenheit 451, burning books. It's that same mindset. Don't even want to hear the opposition. Worse than that, they want to demonize the opposition. That's what Nazi Germany did to the Jews. They demonized the Jews to the point where people became of the mind that it was okay to burn the Jews to death, create a Holocaust. And there's every reason to believe that that same kind of psychic is inside some of these progressive socialists. They are so committed to their cause that is impregnated in their organic computer, their minds. There's a part of a progressive socialist mind that has literally transformed into this hateful being that hates Jews, that hates Bush, hates Palin, hates conservatives, hates the Tea Party. Wasn't it Shakespeare said, "Thou protest too much"? Well, that's how I look at the progressive socialists. They're going way beyond the discussion of political ideology in the public square. They've gone to the point where they're initiating actual war. They're like the Muslims in that they see the climate deniers as infidels and people that shouldn't be afforded the same rights as people like themselves. That's how vicious they are emotionally towards people that disagree with them. This is more than a debate of yin and yang, right versus left. It goes deeper than that. It goes to the psychological level, the essence of their being. And these progressive socialists, they only make up 20% of the population, but they're aggressive. They're out there. They're political animals. Everything that they see in their world, in their human windshield, has to do with politics. Progressive socialist politics. And they see themselves as almost moralistic warriors. And they're out there wreaking havoc on anyone that proclaims to be more diverse than they are, or different, like conservatives and Republicans. And a progressive socialist in any community across the United States will do everything and anything to destroy their opposition. That means gossip, lying, character assassination, not recommending somebody for a job, telling people somebody's bad, does bad work, so that it hurts the progressive, it hurts the conservatives or the Republicans. And progressive socialists love to take over institutions, newspapers, radio stations, the school board, county commissioners, clown council. Look at Colorado. Colorado's a perfect example. Colorado has 100 legislators, 35 senators, and 65 House of Representative members. And 17 of those 100 are retired teachers. And there's another 28 of the 100 legislators that won't even claim publicly what they did for a living, which means they're probably retired government employees. So at least 30% of the legislators in Colorado are retired government workers, and that's a conflict of interest. That's a retardation of our system, our constitutional republic. It's an assault. It's an affront. It's almost an abomination. If you were a teacher or worked in public education, you should not be a legislator. Because if you were intellectually honest, you would vote 17C like they do in the Colorado State Senate, which means conflict of interest, present but not voting. But I can guarantee you all those government employees that got to retire early and now are elected officials, they do not refuse to vote because of conflict of interest, because they're morally bankrupt. And the press is too. The press won't call them on it. And it's wrong. It's dead wrong. And I'll bet you $10 that every legislature in the United States has a strong contingent of representatives that are retired government employees. Guarantee it. You know, it's like having the inmates run the prison, basically. I mean, it's kind of a crime against society in a way. It really is. But the moral bar is so low with progressive socialists that they don't care. Because they feel like the means justify the ends. They don't care that it's underhanded. They don't care that it's a bastardization of our system. They don't care about any of that. The means justify the ends. All right, let's see. Moving on. You can give the old prophet a call at 646-716-8506. Again, if you'd like to talk to the Trailer Park Prophet, you can do that. Dial into 646-716-8506. All right, let's get into the news of the day. A lot is going on right now. Rather remarkable stuff, I think. And a few of these stories are disturbing. And I guess let's do this story first. Well, no, maybe we should do this. Actually, I know what we should do first. We should do this other story first. It was announced on Friday in a letter from President Obama to Republican House Speaker John Boehner that the president, under the War Powers Act, had committed U.S. troops in the Sudan, in southern Sudan. And I have a piece here written by Alan West, who was a Congress member, or was a Congress member from Florida. He has his own website. He's a Republican. He's a black conservative. So I know my progressive friends out there hate him. But at any rate, he has a really good article in here today, and he says, you cannot end a conflict by simply quitting, as we have done in Iraq and will soon do in Afghanistan. The enemy doesn't give up the battle because you don't feel like fighting. Yes, I'm very concerned about the direction of this endeavor. And he's talking about Sudan. And we've reported on things that are going on in Sudan. And I can't remember, was it Sudan or... Well, anyways, I need to do some more research on what's going on in Sudan. I knew that there was some regional conflict and it had some type of involvement with Islam, more specifically Al-Qaeda. But at any rate, this is written by Alan West. And he writes today, he says, according to the report from Paul McLeary in the defensenews.com, without much fanfare or explanation to the American people, President Obama has begun again committing U.S. forces by using his War Powers Resolution authority. In the letter to the Speaker of the House and the President pro tem of the Senate on December 19th, President Obama said that the soldiers deployed on December 18th are equipped for combat, but that this force was deployed for the purpose of protecting U.S. citizens and property. This force will remain in South Sudan until the security situation becomes such that it is no longer needed. Now that's a message from the White House Friday. And then they go on to say the soldiers deployed are part of the U.S. Army's East African Response Force to the capital of Juba to help evacuate American citizens and ensure the safety of embassy personnel there. The 45 combat-ready soldiers are part of the 2nd Brigade, 1st Infantry Division based in Fort Riley, Kansas, but who are on a year-long deployment in the Army's Regionally Aligned Forces program, which marries brigade combat teams with combatant commands around the world to thicken their ranks. Thicken their ranks. Which means these guys are special ops and they're working with the natives to try and train them against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and the Hezbollah and Hamas. Once again, President Obama fails to realize the enemy has a vote, and any deployment into hostile zone is not simply an overseas contingent operation, but rather a combat operation. Case in point, DefenseNews.com reports, quote, U.S. aircraft flown into South Sudan in help with those evacuation efforts on Saturday came under fire, wounding 4 U.S. servicemen. Officials said as fighting in the country escalated. So we're in another conflict. Basically, if they're shooting at our aircraft, we're in another conflict in Sudan. You might want to brush up on your Sudanese history. I guess I'm going to have to as well. This is sadly reminiscent of the Obama administration's ill-advised venture into Libya, which resulted in the destabilization of that region, empowering Islamists, and later resulting in the deaths of an American ambassador and 3 others, including 2 former U.S. Navy SEALs. Mr. West is referring to Benghazi on 9/11/2012. And we have another report on Benghazi. This is going to chill you right to the bone. We'll get to that later. Tensions are rising throughout the region as neighboring countries, Kenya and Uganda, attempt to evacuate foreign nationals as well. South Sudan faces a power struggle between President Salva Kiir and a fast-growing rebel force over control of the oil-rich nation. If the rebel forces succeed in controlling the oil fields, they could effectively hold the government to ransom. I mean, this is crazy how these people live, a lot of them in Africa. I mean, this is kind of like regular off-the-rack stuff in Africa, these kind of skirmishes. And then a little background here. It says, after 20 years of civil war that left nearly 2 million dead, South Sudan is now struggling with ethnic rivalries. Along the latest unrest appeared to start as a result of the political disagreement. The violence is coalescing along ethnic lines, putting Kur and ethnic Dinka against the rival Riek Machar and the Nuer. All of these are ethnic tribes in Sudan. Defense News reports that President Obama has warned that hopes for South Sudan are now at risk, and Secretary of State Kerry said Friday he was sending Donald Booth, his special envoy for Sudan and South Sudan, to the region to encourage talks between the warring factions. Oh great, now we're going to try to get all these factions together And I'm sure that's going to be as successful as John Kerry's effort between Palestine and Israel, and of course those talks are breaking down, and also the talks are breaking down between the P5+1 talks in Geneva with Iran and the U.S. over their nuclear arms program. But at any rate, I digressed. Goes on to say, by entering this internal tribal conflagration, the U.S. must declare support for one side. And given that they fired upon our aircraft, it seems the rebel forces have answered that question. Casting the U.S. military in some nebulous peacekeeping role will lead to mission creep and memories of Somalia under the Clinton administration. And Alan West says that certainly didn't end well. No, it didn't. At a time when we are disseminating or decimating our U.S. military and eroding the trust and confidence the military has with the Obama administration and Congress, this venture is unwarranted unless there are clear objectives for victory. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that's one of the things you got to be careful of. It is mission creep. If we go in there with a residual force, a small force, into the Sudan, and we take on some major casualties, which could happen if our American forces aren't allowed to fight in a warlike manner, unlike what's going on in Afghanistan, where the rules of engagement are like reading a huge manual in Afghanistan. But if we don't allow our American forces to fight and kill these guys, then we're going to have a lot of casualties. And that could get President Obama's hair up on the back of his neck, and then Obama could overreact and send in more troops, and this could end up in being another Vietnam. And I shouldn't use that analogy. That's not really good. It could end up like, well, I don't really know. I'm trying to think of something that would be similar. I'll come up with something a little later. Maybe this is its own thing. I was going to say Syria, but we're actually involved in a proxy war there because we're arming and aiding the rebels in Syria. So at any rate, it goes on to say that I am reminded, and this is Alan West, he says, of a very prescient book written by Samuel Huntington in 1993 titled The Clash of the Civilizations and the Remaking of World Order. Huntington warned that after the bipolar world of USSR hegemonic dominance, the world would revert to age-old fault lines of separation based on religion, racial, and ethnic divisions. And here we are. And these same kind of old fault lines are showing up and have been showing up in other places in Africa. And they're showing up in Nigeria. They're showing up here in the Sudan. There's other countries also. I can't think of any right off the top of my head. But we have another story about what's going on in Turkey, and that's the same kind of thing that this author is alluding to, this Samuel Huntington. In this reality of the 21st century battlefield, and America finds itself ill-prepared to effectively conduct the full spectrum of operations along the front lines. There are in desperate need of serious strategic vision that links our foreign policy with our national security. Amen to that. The Obama track record in this area is not good. You cannot end a conflict by simply quitting, as we have done in Iraq and will do soon in Afghanistan. The enemy doesn't give up the battle because you don't feel like fighting. And he goes on to say, yes, I'm very concerned about the direction this endeavor will take. And I actually have misgivings on the Sudan and other places in Africa, because I feel like in the past the UN has not taken a stand against radical Islam and other type of tribal fighting in Africa, and the slaughter of Africans has been almost a genocide. In fact, it is a genocide. I mean, they're talking about the civil war in the Sudan where 2 million people died. People in the West can't even get their mind around what that would be like. 2 million people dying on short order. It's a terrible thing. So I have misgivings about Sudan. I would like to see us commit troops. And this kind of seems like the kind of battle that, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't even be involved in this at all. You know, it looks like there's a lot of fragments, and we really need to probably find out some more information. Now, when it was a case earlier on in this year, when it was radical, who was it? It was Al-Qaeda. And it wasn't the Sudan, I can't think of the country right now, but if it's Al-Qaeda forces that are running amok over a people, like Yemen, for example, or like what's going on in Syria, then, you know, that's a different thing. Except that if it's Muslim on Muslim violence, then I think probably we should just let them fight it out. And the more Muslims that kill themselves or kill other Muslims, that's a good thing. I think the world probably is better off if a lot of these Muslim countries actually start fighting each other. I mean, they already hate each other. Why not fight to the death and end their disagreements for all? And, you know, as far as Africa and these tribes, I don't know how you ever sort that out. This article really doesn't give us enough information. I think we really do need more information. But then on the other hand, if it's just tribe on tribe violence, I'm really not I don't know. These are tough decisions. It's probably no wonder why we stay out of Africa sometimes, but it breaks my heart that this kind of thing is actually going on. Alright, you're listening to the Trailer Park Prophet. My name is Daniel Gray, and we're broadcasting live on Blog Talk Radio from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. This is Sunday and Monday, where we recap the events of the weekend. Now, this is a story I know didn't make it to the lamestream media. And in my mind, this is a big story. Now, we've talked about this before, talking about Turkey here, back on Turkey. We haven't talked about Turkey for a long time. So I want to refresh your memory. Turkey, of course, is the, oh my God, this article is not going to come up now. Huh, that's weird. Hold on, let me see. Oh, I can't get this. Alright, let me see if I can find this someplace else, because I think this is definitely this is a big story. Okay, the headline is, "A Islamic Civil War Begins in Turkey." And this was on Front Page Magazine, and I believe it's a reasonable source. Let's see here, Civil War in Turkey. Alright, Civil War in Turkey. And I'll tell you why this is a big deal in just a minute. Oh, I'm bummed out that article wouldn't post. Alright, hang on. Let's just see here. I'm using Yahoo as a search engine. You know, I'm not really sure they're too with it. Oh, this might be it here. Oh, okay. So, yeah, here's a story from U.S. News. So there is some mainstream reporting on this, and I've talked about this before, the reason Turkey's so important is because it's kind of the crossroads between the Middle East and Europe. And Turkey over the years has been hostile to the West. And under the Clinton and Bush administration, the relationship between the West and primarily the United States has warmed. And it's made a dramatic change in the ideological makeup of the Turkish parliament and their prime minister. And this relationship between Turkey and the West has warmed up to the point where Turkey was talking about wanting to be a member of NATO. And that's a big deal because NATO is set up, of course, to protect the West, Western Europe primarily, against Russia. And so to have Turkey want to be a member of NATO and other organizations, it's a big, huge coup for democracy, for constitutional rule of law. Because obviously Turkey has had a Islamic past. And if there ever was a reconstitution of the Caliphate of Islam, Turkey, Constantinople, would be one of the key places if there was going to be a resurgence of Islam. And under the Bush administration, under the Clinton administration, Turkey was headed towards the West ideologically. And under Obama, Turkey has made a direct 180 and is now headed towards radical Islam. And so this is a major loss to planet Earth, because also Turkey now is going to want nuclear arms. If Iran gets nuclear arms, Turkey's going to want them. I mean, they're right on the border with Iran. You can kind of understand why. Mad. Mutually assured destruction. So anyway, this story comes out, let's see, when did this come out? This came out on the 17th. This article is written by Claire Berlinski, and this is in the U.S. News and World Report. So it did get some mainstream media play. And she writes here, she says, the power struggle is brewing in Turkey. It is a contest not among the ruling Justice and Developmental Party or the AKP and the country's secularists, but between Turkey Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan and a populist religious movement of ex-patriot cleric Fethullah Gulen. It is not about elections or democracy, rather it is a struggle for control of the Turkish state itself. From his self-imposed exile in the Poconos, where he has lived since 1999, Gulen has explicitly declared that he wishes his followers to control the state, to encourage a kind of cargo cult Westernism. Cargo cult Westernism. No, Westernization. A cargo cult Westernization. I never heard that term before. One may be described as bringing to Turkey what he views as a good part of the West, technology and global commerce, without the bad liberal democracy inherent resistance to Islamic conservatism. Superficially, there is no huge difference between Gulen and Erdogan worldviews. Gulen presents himself nowadays as more liberal, reasonable, and friendlier to the United States, but he has not always done so. And unlike Erdogan, he enjoys the luxury of being unaccountable to the electorate. The Gulen movement has spent the past 3 decades aggressively expanding its presence in the education sector, both in Turkey and abroad. It is one of the largest players, for example, in the American charter school market. God, I didn't know that. The movement seeks to create a well-educated golden generation, friendly to the movement and possessed of the technical skills to assure high positions in strategic sectors of the economy, government, and armed forces. The contemporary Gulen presents himself as an elderly, humble champion of the interfaith dialogue, and perhaps this is now true. Age, after all, mellows many men. But Gulen has never unequivocally reversed his early teachings, on which senior have been raised, or charades have been raised, including his early sermons, which are replete with bracing exhortations to Muslims to become bombs and explode and tear to pieces the heads of the infidels. That's how they think. You know, you can't make this up. Initially, the AKP and the Gulen movement formed an alliance of convenience aimed at dislodging the old Kemalist establishment in Turkey, but like the alliance of convenience, it reached a natural conclusion. Today, the old guard is safely in prison or silenced for fear of arrest. As a result, we are now witnessing is a fight among the new, ostensibly pious ruling elites about how to divide the spoils of power. And Erdogan's wing of the AKP is mainly in charge of the military, and the Gulenists in control of the police and the judiciary. What a mess. But the state isn't big enough for them to share. The split had been prepared over the years, or papered over the years, but broke into the open during the Gulenist persecution attempted to arrest Halkın Fidan. But at any rate, you know, that just kind of gives you the flavor for what's going on in Turkey. And it's a real battle between exact opposite ideologies. The Western style democracy and the radical Islamic theocracy, which is a government by the dictates of Islam. And so this battle is going on right now as we speak in Turkey. And this is one of the tamer accounts of what's going on in Turkey. I've read accounts that there are actually a lot of dividing. People are being told in one way or another that they're going to have to pick one side or the other. And so Turkey is becoming more and more polarized, and the likelihood of some sort of a civil war between the religious Islamic sects in Turkey becomes more and more real as the Middle East continues to become destabilized. That's probably a good note to end on. All right. Oh, geez, did I just do that? I think I just wiped out all my stories. Hang on here. Don't go away. I know how to recover stuff. I'm dreaming of it. Can I say White Christmas without being racist? Probably not. I'm dreaming of an off beige Christmas. All right. You know, I've been wanting to do this story for a while. This is pretty interesting. And And this comes from the Universal Free Press. I've never seen their stuff before, but they seem pretty reasonable. But I'm doing this story even if it's not true, even though I do think it's true, because of the fact that President Putin has come out in recent memory, actually in the last month or two, against Islam. And it was Putin, President Vladimir Putin, who actually gave a speech before the UN talking about how that there's genocide of Christians around the world, and it received little attention from the lamestream media. But on 3 big occasions already this year, or in the last month, Russian President Vladimir Putin has come out against Islam. And the headline reads here that Russian President Vladimir Putin says to exterminate Islamic radicals like they are cockroaches. And it says here, we recently ran an article on a letter that Russian President Vladimir Putin wrote to the American people, trying to spell out in black and white the dangers of radical Islamic extremists and faces the free nations of the planet. You can see the whole story here. I meant to do this story. I didn't report on this at the time, and we probably ought to read the letter. I mean, he's writing it to the American people. But let's see, how's time going? It says here, America, it seems, has gotten very soft and needs things spelled out in black and white by the likes of Putin, who has become one of the world's leading badasses when it comes to dealing with real-life threats and beating them into submission, unlike President Barack Hussein Obama, who, when faced with dire economic circumstances, prefers to pick up his ball and go home and leave the constituents hanging out to dry, like he did in Iraq, like he's going to do in Afghanistan. When we leave Afghanistan, the Taliban's going to come back into Afghanistan, and anyone who had anything to do with America or Karzai is going to be slaughtered. You're going to see a genocide like the Middle East hasn't seen in a while when the U.S. pulls out of Afghanistan. In just the past 2 weeks, Islamic radicals have extended their reign of terror on the free world by slaughtering countless innocents at the Westport Mall in Kenya, by taking over an entire city and killing more than 100 people in I gotta spell it for you, Zamboanga, Philippines, on the southern island of Mindanao, and attacking the Russian embassy in Tripoli, Libya, as just today. I don't know what they're talking about. While a politically correct America, arguably the soft underbelly of the Western culture, that's kind of laughable, continues to say that Islam is the religion of peace, badass Russian President Vladimir Putin spells it out in saying, quote, I would love to gas the Chechens, and 1.2 million of them. The Chechens obviously are Islamic. He says this, I would love to gas the Chechens, all 1.2 million of them. They are like cockroaches, murderous Muslim cockroaches. And if the Chechens had done to the Americans what they have done to the Russians, maybe the U.S. public would want to join with us. Oh, wait, they have. The Boston bombers, those Taj Arnev brothers, were Chechens. You took them in against our advice. You put them on welfare for a decade, ignored our intelligence warnings, and then they terror bombed you. The Chechens deserve to be fumigated. As an aside, what's wrong with your media? They seem like useful idiots, to borrow a Lenin phrase for terrorists. The Rolling Stone cover, really? That would never happen in Russia. For the first time in the history of both nations, more Americans find themselves looking to the Russian president for guidance during these dark times than their own president. Universal Free Press contributor Kevin E. Lake is an Iraqi war veteran and author. He has published 5 books. Follow him on Facebook. What did he say? He said that if the Chechens had done to America what the Chechens have done to Russia, maybe you'd want to stomp them out like cockroaches too. And the Chechens are known terrorists. I mean, they are the worst of the worst, the most vicious, bloodletting terrorists of all the ones, at least in that region. And some people say, well, in all of the Middle East, but the Chechens aren't in the Middle East. But they're known to be just vicious. All right, here. You're listening to Trailer Park Prophet. My name's Daniel Gray. We're broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. Thank you very much for being here. I have something interesting here I got from a lady. Her name is Peggy Wilson. She's from Crestone, Colorado. And I've had a few exchanges with her on Facebook. Crestone Baca, or the Baca Crestone Open Forum. She's a part of that. But I saw this on her Facebook page, and it's a picture of Obama, and it has a caption to the side, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, "We have a fraction of the Republican Party." This is President Obama talking. "In the House of Representatives, in particular, that view compromise as a dirty word. And anything that is even remotely associated with me, they feel obliged to oppose. And my argument to them is real simple. That's not why the people sent you here." Now, this is exactly the kind of thing that Edward Bernays, the father of propaganda, and Sal Alinsky would be proud of. This paragraph right here by Barack Hussein Obama. Because what he does here is, for one part, one thing he does is he impugns the motives of these Republicans in the House. And in college debate, in legislatures all across the nation, you cannot impugn somebody's motivations. And yet that's what this president does all the time. And he's trying to make the Tea Party, the House Republicans, look like they're being unreasonable. And he's doing this because it's a cheap, easy trick for a politician to do, but the president, he can't really enter into a honest, objection-driven debate with the Republicans. So he's left with no other option but to demonize the Republicans. And this is a perfect example, in particular, that view compromise as a dirty word. Compromise is a dirty word. A dirty word. And we can think of a lot of dirty words, but this man, President Obama, is suggesting that Republicans think that compromise is a dirty word. We're not talking about what is being offered as a compromise. We're not being told what the issue is. We're just being told that Republicans are so unreasonable that they think that compromise is a dirty word. And to the low information voters out there, this is as good as gospel coming from their Messiah, Barack Hussein Obama. And then he goes on to say, he goes, these people that think that compromise is a dirty word, and anything that is even remotely associated with me, they feel obliged to oppose. Now that's the dog whistle. That's the whistle only the dogs can hear. And what that is the call of racism. He's calling anybody that disagrees with him racist. That's called a dog whistle statement. He doesn't have to say that, but for people like Peggy Wilson, she thinks that's brilliant. She's one of my Facebook friends. And she says that, Peggy Wilson, of this quote. She says, he's brilliant. This president doesn't have to kiss any ass. That's what she put down. I thought there for a minute she said white ass, but that's not what she said. But then the president goes on, he's saying, he goes, and my simple argument to them is real simple. Period. That it's not why the people sent you here. And see, that's just not accurate, Mr. President. The reason that the Tea Party got elected and that the Republicans took over the House of Representatives in 2012 was to fight your policy. That's why they got sent there. And this president knows that. He knows damn good and well that the conservatives in the House and the Tea Party members are doing exactly what the people that sent them there to do. Exactly, Mr. President. And you're either ignorant or totally disingenuous to say something like that. It's arrogant. And it's not truthful, Mr. President. Okay, moving on. Oh yeah, this story here. This is a freaky. This is a freaky story. This was on I think this was Wednesday on Fox, on their major 5 o'clock news program, Special Report. And if you haven't seen Special Report, and you don't know that Fox has a news side and opinion side, then shut your pie hole and don't give an opinion of Fox. If you don't watch Fox, don't make a comment on it. Don't be a parrot. God. So anyway, I think this was on Wednesday. They do a all-star after panel show on Wednesday. And the all-star panel is a good panel. They usually have 3 conservatives and 1 liberal. And on this all-star panel, we're going to listen to this. They have Maura Iverson from NPR. And Brent Baer, he is the anchor for Special Report. His headline is, "It gives me the chills." Brett Baer reads emails proving Obama's intelligence response for Ambassador Stevens' murder. That was written kind of funny. But at any rate, we're talking about the communiques that were running through the White House last year during 9/11, during the anniversary of 9/11 on 2012. And more of the emails that went back and forth amongst the White House and the State Department are being leaked to the media or found out by the media, so we're able to have a better understanding of what really went on the night of 9/11, 2012 in Libya, in Benghazi. And it says it's Obama's negligence because Hillary brought this information to him as the basis of her request for more Benghazi security for the ambassador. So we now know Secretary of State Hillary Clinton did know that there were security concerns in Benghazi. Now we know that. See, we've had a hard time actually figuring out who knew what and when. But we now know from these new emails that Hillary Clinton was definitely in the loop in regards to Benghazi, and Chris Stevenson's repeated request for more security. Now we know Hillary was in the loop, and now we know Hillary brought this information to him, meaning the president, as the basis for her request for more Benghazi security for the ambassador, who was basically in a unfortified house, totally unfortified, including no sandbags, nothing. Obama, upon whatever calculation, said no. So now we know this goes directly into the White House. And we know that this information was in the Situation Room in the White House. And now we have this memo from Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State Clinton, placing this information, this request for more security in Benghazi, right into Obama's lap. Now imagine that this memo was leaked by Team Hillary, Team Clinton, because that's how these two work sometimes. They work behind the scenes. But let's listen to this. Again, this is Brent Baer, special report, and this is the special online edition, and they're talking about the new information that came out about these emails that tie Hillary Clinton directly to President Obama and the Situation Room. So let's give this a listen. All right, I think there's a dog food commercial. I might try to kill the volume and spare you, but maybe I won't. You know, I'm kind of in a mood right now. All right, maybe we should shut a few of these windows down. Give my computer a little more power. I don't know. All right, come on, Brent Baer. Welcome to the Trailer Park Prophet Show, you lucky devil. All right, looks like it might start. Oh, you know what? I downloaded this. We might have another option. Oh, wait, here. Wait a minute. I think I got it right here. See,
around here, you call the shots. You manage.
All right, here we go.
So you know its inner works and all of its quirks. Yours is the final word on the heat and the cool. In short, you rule.
Sorry about an advertisement, but this is the modern world, and we are on Facebook and other social media sites for free, so. All right, only 6 seconds. Thank you, XL Energy. You got the power.
Can we bring him down? So Ambassador Stevens, who's in
Ah, shoot.
Benghazi, he writes emails up the chain. Now, do they make it to the White House? We don't know. But they are up the chain in the State Department. We assume they get to Secretary Clinton. They are to his bosses. And he says Islamic extremism appears to be on the rise in eastern Libya. The al-Qaeda flag has been spotted several times flying over government buildings and training facilities. The government of Libya is not dealing with this. The violence is continuing and worsening. Then, in August, he writes, Benghazi has moved from trepidation to euphoria and back as a series of violent incidents has dominated the political landscape. This is Stevens. The incidents have been organized. Islamic extremists are able to attack the Red Cross with relative impunity. What we have seen are not random crimes of opportunity, but rather targeted and discriminated attacks. Attackers are unlikely to be deterred until authorities are at least as capable. And then on 9/11, which is before we get to this email up the chain on 4:05 Eastern Time, this is 4 hours before that, so likely about 12 p.m. Eastern Time, Ambassador Stevens writes an email up the chain that says there are growing problems with security here in Benghazi. There is growing frustration with the local security police and the forces here. They can't control this area. They are too weak to keep this country secure. We need more help. This is Ambassador Stevens 4 hours before this. 20 armed men are firing shots. Ambassador Stevens, who currently in Benghazi, personnel in the safe haven. 4 hours. I mean, it gives me chills looking at this email that is up the chain and then this email that is up the chain. I mean, is that not something?
Almost as if he had a premonition of his death.
I mean, here's an interview with a dead man, essentially.
Yeah. Look, I think on these specific issues of the security, it's true that Biden was answering the question about what happened before, and there are a lot of questions. But when he answered, we didn't know, that's been sort of the general approach of the White House. This is all happening. I mean, Hillary Clinton says, I take responsibility. Then you get all the blame put it on DNI. The DNI releases a statement which says, we're the ones who gave the assessment. It doesn't wash. Now that we know that this penetrated to the situation room, and then the question is, if this isn't the situation room, we have a dead ambassador within hours, 4 dead Americans, the embassy on fire. Is there no curiosity? Are they just going to say, well, we're going to rely on a piece of paper that DNI hands us? This isn't like a fire happening in the back of an annex somewhere in the Paris embassy. This is the biggest attack, the first killing of an ambassador in 3 decades. Are they going to tell us that the White House then did nothing, had no curiosity looking into earlier emails, who knew what, and said we're going to rely on a single assessment from the DNI? It's not plausible. It's simply a way, I think, to protect the White House, to insulate it. And I'm not sure it can be insulated anymore.
And remember, the single assessment from the DNI, the assessment from the DNI that they later used, I think, to hide behind, which said that they have this intercept that talks about, makes reference at least to a protest in Cairo. That intercept was between 2 al-Qaeda-linked terrorists. So you can't have gone forward and put out information about this being supposedly a spontaneous attack based on mirrored on Cairo, and not also include the fact that the people talking were terrorists with links to al-Qaeda. Clearly they were cherry-picking information, contrary to what Secretary Clinton said, and we've seen this pattern again and again and again in this story.
But here's what I don't get, is the disconnect between we see all of this stuff and we are reporting it. There are a few others who are reporting it, and I don't get how somebody could say that it's not a big deal. I don't get it. I mean, I just don't get it.
And either they don't understand the magnitude. They haven't taken the time to look at all this, mostly because I think they don't. I'm talking about editors at the New York Times. They don't want to see what's here because it would make them, compel them to cover it. But it was extraordinary. I sat at home today, my laptop open, and just kept going back to the New York Times, to the Washington Post, to see when they would finally write this. This broke last night, 9 o'clock last night. There were stories on Fox News' website last night. Other networks, CBS had one up.
NPR has covered this. Yeah. We've covered the story.
Yeah. The problem is to say the media isn't covering it. Some parts of the media are. It might not be getting the level of attention that we all think it deserves, but there certainly, as you said, there'll be hearings on this.
But the Washington Post today, last time I clicked at 2 o'clock, had done a story on the Gloria Allred October surprise and had not a word about this. The New York Times at about 2 o'clock this afternoon had still not yet written a word. They'd written 3 stories about Richard Murdoch's comments in Indiana on abortion, but they didn't have time to assign somebody to write this story.
But we already saw the public editor, which is essentially their ombudsman, say this should have been, page 1 when they had the hearings. Remember that? And remember I held up the paper at a panel back when and said, why wasn't this even in the paper? The day after the National Counterterrorism Center.
All right, I kind of goofed here. This video actually was first broadcast on October 25th, 2012. I thought this was a recent news story, and I obviously didn't check it out, but it's still a big story, and the emails are very chilling in a lot of ways. And remember, the administration kept saying that the cause of the attack on the Benghazi consulate on on November 20, or not November 20th, I'm losing my dates here, on 9/11, they were the result of a bad reaction to an anti-Islamic video. The president went in front of the United Nations and said that very thing, that the attack in Benghazi was the result of a anti-Muslim video, anti-Muhammad video. And clearly that wasn't the case. And still, these questions that Brent Baer was bringing up over a year ago have not been answered. None of this has been answered. And the Obama administration would rather the media move on. And the media has moved on, except for Fox and some blogs and some Trailer Park Prophets. All right, I'm sorry I got that wrong. I thought this was a current story, but I think that it bears repeating. I don't feel bad at all. I mean, I make mistakes. This is citizen journalism. At least I caught it. All right, again, you're listening to the Trailer Park Prophet Show. My name is Daniel Gray. We're broadcasting on Blog Talk Radio from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. All right, I have something here that I thought was kind of interesting and different. And this just came out on the 23rd, that's today. And it comes from News 44 Infinite, K1 or KI. And it says the Mexican government releases proof that ETs and ancient space travel. Kind of a fun story, you know. And it says here, it will soon be considered as the holy grail of extraterrestrial research. The Mexican government has released ancient documents proving the existence of ETs once and for all. The two circles near the center of the artifact appear to be Earth. This appears to be a spacecraft of some type. Number 3, this appears to be a massive comet or asteroid headed towards Earth. And what they're talking about is actually these artifacts. And they're describing what they are. And I'll describe them to you in a minute. Well, here, I'll do it right now. All right, first you got to know, well, they are ancient. And that's been established. And they're clay tablets, and they're in the shape of, this is kind of a unique shape. It's a circle with a knob on top, all right? Picture that. And if you want, you can go to my Facebook page, Daniel Gray, and you can see for yourself these tablets. And they're remarkable. They look like something that you would see a high school kid draw today. If you were to say, well, I want you to draw some flying saucers and extraterrestrials for your assignment today. That's exactly what this looks like. They have the flying saucers, and they have the lines like the flying saucers flying around, traveling through space and time. And what looks like in the center, or perhaps off to the side, is Earth. There's two round objects that are in the background. But it clearly looks like these people saw something from outer space. And there's even a capsule. And it looks like an actual enlargement of a capsule. And it looks like it has a being in it, a living being. And it looks very much like an earthling. It looks like it has a big head, arms, fingers, legs, and stumps. But maybe those stumps are in stump boots or some kind of boot. But anyways, I mean, you got to see it. And let's see here. It says Mexico will release these artifacts and significant documents and there's evidence of Mayan and extraterrestrial contact, and all of their information will be collaborated by archaeologists The Mexican government is not making this statement on their own. Everything we say, we're going to back it up. So it's going to be a major announcement. Let's see what else. Oh, wait. Here's a video. You want to hear this? You got some time? Yeah, man, this would be nice. I can take a little break. Here we go. This is about these artifacts that are ancient, that were found in Mexico, that prove that the planet Earth was visited by extraterrestrials. How about that, huh? People from outer space. And maybe this will play. And it says it's important for people to understand the series of events that are coming and the consequences for all of us. Julia Levy. Wait, I don't think the educational information and some of the Mayan artifacts shown here have been under the control of the Mexican government for over 80 years. But these are new discoveries. And this is a real cool video. It's called the Mayan UFO Alien Connection. Says here the Mayan documentary will prove. Oh, the Mayans used to construct one pyramid over another. Tourism Minister for the Mexican state of Campeche, Luis Augusto Garcia Rosado, told the Rap in the site of Calcuma. Alright, maybe I can read this to you. Hang on a second. They have some information here. I like that music, though. But they say the Mexican government is releasing new information from the pre-Columbian Mesoamerican civilization to the makers of a documentary, Revelations of the Mayans 2012 and beyond. The Rap's exclusive interviews with producers Ron Julian Levy and Ed Elbert and the tourism minister for the Mexican state of Campeche, Luis. Alright, there's nothing there. Sorry. Let's move on. This is very important for humanity, not just for Mexico. European Scientific Conference.
So here we have an even more amazing piece. And you know, you are all some of the first ones to see these pieces.
Also noch ein beeindruckendes Bild und wir sind welche der ersten, die das sehen.
They look like spaceships.
And
just like I said before.
Again, we have a solar system. Here is a planet with an atmosphere.
Das Sonnensystem und der Ring, den da gezeigt hat, ist ein Planet mit einer Atmosphäre.
And this planet with an atmosphere must be the Earth. We can assume it's the Earth, but it's definitely a planet with an atmosphere. There's a ship here and a ship here.
Ja, wir nehmen an, dass es die Erde ist, weil es eine Atmosphäre hat.
All right, I didn't realize they're going to have this interpreter. At any rate, this is a great story. I kind of feel like we're breaking it here on the Trailer Park Prophet Show. And please do go and look at this YouTube video, Mayan UFO Alien Connection. It's only 12 minutes long, and I wish we had more time. We would listen to it. At any rate, we got to move on. All right, let's see here. If you want to call into the show, you can do so. Just dial 646-716-8506. Again, that's 646-716-8506. You're listening to the Trailer Park Prophet. My name's Daniel Gray, broadcasting live from Crestone, Colorado, on Blog Talk Radio. This is Sunday on Monday. And here was something that they were talking about on Sunday. They being political pundits, and there was a new CNN poll out. I got this story from Best of Kane, and the headline reads, CNN support for Obamacare plummets to 35% in new poll. Despite Obama's mom offensive, women abandoned the Affordable Care Act. This is not how it is supposed to be. Early in December, President Obama announced a new initiative that was supposed to turn the unpleasant tide of negative public opinion. If you recall, the plan was to give a speech a day trolling the virtues of the Affordable Care Act so that even the dumb schmucks on the right would be forced to recognize its brilliance. No one seems to be entirely sure if the whole speech a day thing actually happened. There's so much Obamacare white noise coming from the administration that was hard to determine what exactly would qualify as part of the new effort. If they really spent the last month selling the ACA on a daily basis, no one seems to have noticed. There was only one plan that actually managed to stick out and grab some media attention. The president asked moms to head for the grocery stores where they would start selling complete strangers on the sheer genius of his agenda. That's so funny. If the plan has to get women on board with Obamacare, it's time to put another check in the presidential failure column. According to CNN polling, support for the law just hit an all-time low. Only 35% of those questions in the poll say they support the health care law. A 5-point drop in less than a month. Oh my God. 62% say they oppose the new law, up 4 points from November. All right. Not good. Nearly all of the newfound opposition is coming from women. Opposition to Obamacare rose 6 points among women, with 54% in November to 60% now, while opinion of the new law remained virtually unchanged among men. CNN polling director Cheating Holland said, "That's bad news for the administration that is reaching out to moms across the country in an effort to make Obamacare a success." Oh, it sucks to be Obama. I'll tell you what, this kind of stuff, this hurts. They're worried about this big time. All right, so in an effort to drag women into the ACA web, the president has actually managed to turn more of them against the plan. Disapproval remains relatively uniform, regardless of age, income, and this is the first time CNN polls have ever seen overall opposition top 60%. So now we're in record territory. CNN tries to help the president out by revealing that 15% of the people who dislike the law say that it's not liberal enough. That's fair. But even that number is declining. Meanwhile, 63% say it's making their coverage more expensive, and only 7% say the ACA will live up to its name and make coverage more affordable. 42% say that they are personally worse off. 42% say that personally they are worse off under Obamacare. That's not a good number. That's a terrible number. Liberals may like to cling desperately to that 15%, but it's positively overwhelmed by the reality of what the law is doing to ordinary Americans. Plus, they have to make the law more liberal to appease 15%. They'd likely lose the support elsewhere. And the beat goes on. How would you feel if you were the president right now? Would you be worried? Okay, this is kind of funny. We got to do this. We've done this before. I saw it again, and I decided to do it. I like it. And this is really interesting. And the video, like I said, it's on my Facebook page. Just go to Daniel Gray. But this is a video of Al Sharpton. And granted, he was new to his job. He's now a talking head for MSNBC. And here he is. He's talking about something. I'm not sure what. And I don't know if he's reading the teleprompter or if he's trying to ad-lib, and because he's not a seasoned vet yet, he just somehow got lost and was thinking ahead of himself. Now listen.
The measure of whether the country begins.
Now wait, okay, I got to set this up for you. All right, because we got to get it right from the beginning. Now again, this is Al Sharpton. He's on MSNBC. Okay, and you know Al Sharpton. He's the Reverend Al Sharpton. I think he had, what's the name of his organization? Anyways, he's a professional black community organizer. All right, here we go. All right, Al.
Tonight is the measure of whether the country begins in the state of Wisconsin a national drive to push back, or whether we have more to go to build a movement of resistance. But resist we much. We must and we will much. About that be committed.
I almost thought he was like having a little...
Tonight is the measure of whether the country begins in the state of Wisconsin a national drive to push back, or whether we have more to go to build a movement of resistance. But resist we much. We must and we will much about that be committed.
Maybe he had a few drinks or he's having a mini stroke. I don't know what was going on with this guy, but his organic computer was definitely going off the rails. I probably sound like that myself sometimes. I see some people out there shaking their heads. All right. Oh, hey, this was on the Sunday Talk programs yesterday. Senator Joe Manchin, he was on CNBC. No, rather, he was on CNN with Candy Crowley. And he had some really bad things to say about Obamacare. And he's a Democrat, remember, and he's not up for re-election next year in 2014. And he was asked by Candy Crowley whether or not Obamacare was the right thing to do. And the senator replied, probably not. Probably not. I mean, that's horrible. Absolutely horrible. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, told CNN's Candy Crowley that Obamacare was probably not the right solution to fixing America's health care system, saying that the individual mandate should be delayed. All right? Now, here's a call for a delay in the individual mandate. And we reported, remember, on Friday and Wednesday, too, we reported that there was some movement in this area by Health and Human Services that they were somehow extending the deadline, the deadline for the individual mandate sign up. Remember we reported there was kind of a big story, and I still haven't really sorted it out. But here is a senator who is asking for a delay in the individual mandate, and I'm assuming that he means statutorily. At any rate, Senator Manchin, we got to do better. This was the right thing, probably not. Is this a step moving it? Yes, we're moving the ball forward. I've only asked for one thing. I said, listen, I'm not worried about the glitches, the computer glitches. We'll fix that sooner or later. I'm worried about having the product that market will buy, or he means having a product that the market will buy. And we're not allowing people to shop. With that being said, myself and Senator Mark Kirk of Ohio introduced a bill, the only bipartisan bill that introduced a bill that says, why don't you wait basically before we put any crimes or fines until the first of 2015. And it blew my mind. Did you catch that? About the crimes before the fines? And so not having health care can be a crime? Or was this just sort of a one-off situation for the senator? But I saw that. My God, I'm like, what? Before we put any crimes or fines until January 1, 2015, this will be a transitional year to find out where our glitches are and our little nuances we have to work for and find out if the market can produce the products that we need to keep this healthy. That's Senator Manchin from West Virginia. And he's kind of the first moderate Democrat to jump off the Obamacare ship. And like I've said before, this is what it takes. It takes a few brave souls in the beginning, like Manchin here, and Gibbs, I'm trying to think, the spokesperson for President Obama. I always forget that guy's name for some reason, but you have to have some big names in order for others to see that the water's safe. And obviously, Senator Manchin, he's a Democrat, he's jumped in the water. And Team Obama has been in contact with Senator Manchin, and he's been told to cool it. You can be assured of that. Because he's out there and he's saying that we ought to consider a delay in Obamacare. And President Obama does not want to hear that. So that's a pretty major defection, I would say. Robert Gibbs. That was a big deal. When Robert Gibbs came out against Obamacare, or he didn't come out against Obamacare, but he mentioned that the rollout was a disaster, that the computer system was a disaster, and that was the first major defection. And now we have this Senator Manchin. So that's two that I can think of off the top of my head. All right, you're listening to the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live from Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. My name is Daniel Gray. Oh, this is so funny. This is from my friend in Nigeria. His name is Tosin Idowu Ayo. He's my friend from Nigeria. We've been friends now for a couple years. Again, his name is Tosin Idowu Ayo, my friend from Nigeria. And he writes, and I just thought this was so funny, and a lot of other people thought it was funny too. Tosin writes, "Don't worry about what people think. They don't do it very often." That's a good one. Don't worry about what people think. They don't do it very often. Don't let people get under your skin. You can't let that happen. You're in control of who gets under your skin. Remember that. I heard something one time from Gloria Van Steenhouse. She was a psychiatrist who was on KOA during the 80s and 90s. And I loved her program. Loved Dr. Gloria Van Steenhouse. And one time I was listening to her show, and I was actually painting my boss's house, Marge Rutenbeck, the Secretary of the Senate, and I was listening to Gloria Van Steenhouse, and this woman calls into the show, and she's talking about how she's excited for her in-laws to visit, and that she's cleaning up the house, and she's buying this and that, and storing this and that, and on and on and on and on and on. And, just getting ready for the in-laws showing up. And she said something to Gloria Van Steenhouse. She goes, because I'm really concerned about what they think about me. And Gloria says, whoa, wait a minute, cowgirl. It's great that you're tidying up the house and getting ready for a visit by your in-laws, but if you're doing it because you're concerned about what they think about you, that would be a fool's errand. Because it's none of your business what your in-laws think about you, or anyone else for that matter. And I remember thinking in that moment, I felt like I had a big weight taken off my shoulders listening to Gloria Van Steenhouse. Because it isn't any business, it is none of our business what other people think of us. It just really isn't. And yet we spend so much time in our organic computers machinating over what our public persona is, what our looking glass self is, to the point of distraction and insanity. Because when it boils down to your life and your reputation, it's really none of your business what people think of you. I mean, isn't that liberating? All right, I think it is. All right, let's see here. Charles Payne. He is a black conservative. He is a reporter on Fox Business Rights. The left made the political decision to slice and dice the country into buckets of victims. It's probably the most despicable form of government this nation has ever seen. It's a deliberate effort to make people feel small, hated, afraid, intimidated, and have hopelessness. Charles Payne. Oh, here's kind of a cool story. There's actually a play in New York. It's running during the Christmas season. It's called Black Angels, and it's about the Tuscany pilots, the black pilots during World War II, and now there's actually a play. And my friend, my black conservative friend in New York, is going to the play, and her name is Afro City Brown. She's a black conservative. But anyways, I just want to tell you about the play. I don't even know why. And so, yeah, I mean, this story actually is in the Examiner. And because of Black History Month, which starts in January, in case you didn't know, and we're going to do a lot of Black History stuff. I really, 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 really like Black History Month. And there's a lot of really cool things to talk about. And so I'm looking forward to January. And this story that I'm talking about here, it says Black Angels, a play about the Tuscany Airmen. Black History Month gives African Americans and others of color the opportunity to reflect back on the tales of our ancestry and focus on the current struggles. So, yeah, they got this play, and my friend Afro City Brown is going to go and see it. So maybe we'll get a review. And it looks like my homeboys weighed in. Let's see. Oh, I told you that this was going to happen. I told you that there were going to be a lot of unintended consequences. All the government employees that voted for Barack Hussein Obama would wind up experiencing. And now here is one example of my forecast, my prediction. Now remember, I am the Trailer Park Prophet, all right? I'm spiritually endowed. I have a plastic crystal ball. I see things. And I was telling you that Obamacare and the Obama administration in general, that their policies were going to come back and hurt the very people that put them into office. And I would propose, I would suggest, I would offer up that the majority of government employees, federal, state, and local, and all the other political subdivisions that have public employees, that I would hazard a guess that the majority of those public employees, those public servants, voted for Barack Hussein Obama, not only once, but twice. And here comes a story by the Daily Mail about how Obamacare is affecting volunteer fire departments. And this story comes by way of Mail Online. Republican congressman says Obamacare will threaten public safety if fire departments are forced to pay insurance for volunteer fighters. Under the Affordable Care Act, all businesses... That whole article I was reading to you just fell out of space. It just fell off the planet. Yeah, let me get into this, because this, I'm telling you, this is exactly the problem with Obamacare. So as you probably know, under the Affordable Care Act, all businesses, and that includes government entities with over 50 full-time employees, must provide health care. All right? Fire stations across the country are waiting to hear whether volunteer firefighters will be counted as full-time employees. All right? my computer is like bouncing all over the place, so bear with me. Or I'm just going to have to rely on my brilliant memory. Okay, Representative Lou Barletta, Representative Lou Barletta is hoping to pass legislation to exempt volunteer emergency workers from Obamacare. He thinks having to provide medical insurance will cripple these already cash-strapped agencies. So it looks like, well, what's going on now is that they're trying to get a determination from HHS, Health and Human Services, and give volunteer fire departments a waiver, another waiver. Isn't that funny? There's already some 2,500 waivers from Obamacare that we can't find out who those people are. Now these volunteer firemen want to get a waiver from Obamacare, and they're probably one of the people that ought to get a waiver. And so what's going on here is that also this Representative Lou Barletta, the Pennsylvania representative, he's trying to get legislation to change this rule. And also they're trying to get a determination from the Health and Human Services, probably board of directors. So they have like a two-pronged approach. I mean, they realize now that Obamacare affects them. And this guy, this representative, he says, Barletta, he says, this is just another example of how Obamacare was not well thought out. December 11th, while introducing the protecting volunteer firefighters and emergency responders. Oh yeah, you got the ambulance people too. So we're left to try to pave other potholes, and this is a big one, possibly affecting the fire stations nationwide. And see, the thing is, and this article doesn't mention it, but a lot of people think that if you have part-time workers, you don't have to provide insurance for them. Well, while that's true on the face, you still got to claim them. And then their two part-time workers are considered one full-time worker, FTE. And then the business will have to pay appropriately per FTE into Obamacare as part of the fine/tax. Or, of course, the Supreme Court ruled that would be a tax. And then still those people who didn't get insurance through their employer because they are part-time are now going to be forced into the state exchanges and forced to pay for their own insurance. And if they can't pay for their own insurance, then they're going to have to pay a fine, or as the Supreme Court ruled, a tax for not having insurance. So on both ends of the spectrum, the employer and the employee, the government is getting paid to provide nothing. Now that's the kind of business you want. As a person that has run all types of business, that's the kind of business that you want. the Affordable Care Act. That's you know, and I've had these kind of jobs. You know, that's like being a lobbyist. And sometimes this can happen. It's happened to me. A lobbyist can get paid to stay out of an issue. I actually got paid to stay out of a few issues. Or they would like hire me and give me some dumb job, like go out to dinner with minority restaurant owners or something like that. But I actually did get paid to stay out of issues, and it kind of reminds me of the Obamacare, getting money for not providing service. And I mean, it's absolutely amazing in the 21st century that we're actually experiencing this complete takeover of 1/6 of our economy. and it's anything but smooth. It really is. I mean, the cost of the Obamacare website, which isn't fixed, is now over $1 billion. The guys that screwed it up, United Healthcare, are now trying to fix the broken Obamacare computer website. And don't forget, you guys, everybody's supposed to be signed up by tonight. Tonight's the deadline. If I'm not mistaken, at least that's what I'm reading all over the internet, that tonight everyone in the USA has to have at least applied for coverage under Obamacare. Tonight's the deadline. You might turn into a lizard or a salamander person if you don't have Obamacare when you wake up in the morning. I just want to warn you guys. Warning, warning. All right, you're listening to Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live on Blog Talk Radio from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. Just gorgeous. All right, let's see here. All right, we'll do this story. This is, and then there's a really bad story. What should I do first? I'm not going to do the bad story at all. I'll call the show short. I'm not going to do this story. Well, maybe I should do it now that I started talking about it. I'll get the bad story out of the way. You probably already heard about it. This was in New York, Manhattan. Some father was involved with a sticky divorce settlement, and the court ordered that the father had to surrender the couple's child, this little boy, looked like 5-6-year-old boy, and the two parents were to meet and turn over the kid, and instead this father, I think, and ironically, I think he's Chechen. And at any rate, this father, he took his kid over to one of his friends or someone he had a relationship with, over to this big penthouse, and was let in through security, and he went on top of this building, and this father threw his son off this 42-story, 46-story building, killing his son. And then this father, jumped off the same 52-story rooftop and killed himself. Murder-suicide. Says a 35-year-old threw his three-year-old, son to death from the roof of a 52-story skyscraper, and then jumped, killing himself after a judge ordered him to hand over the boy to his estranged wife. The killer, dad, has been identified as Dmitry Kanrakov, a systems analyst from Brooklyn. I actually practiced that, and now I forgot how I was going to pronounce the guy's name. But at any rate, he had a good job. And he's a foreigner. And let's see, where is he from? I wonder if he's Chechen. I wonder if he was Muslim. His wife wasn't dressed in Muslim garb. I bet there's more to this story. He's Ukrainian. He's a Ukrainian immigrant. So we don't know exactly where he's from. He's from that region. He could be Chechen. Another one of these crazy Chechens. And I wonder if there's some sort of Islamic connection to this death. I bet I got a bad feeling about this story. At any rate, this was in New York, in Manhattan. This 35-year-old Ukrainian chucked his beautiful little 3-year-old boy. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. Little red-haired boy, all bright-eyed and everything. He threw this kid off the roof of a 46-story I mean, just think of the trauma for not only the family of this individual, but the people in the building. You know what I'm saying? That would kind of creep me out. If I knew I lived in a building that 2 people died a tragic death. All right, hey, we're going to have to watch this story, see if there's anything new that develops. I mean, this would be the kind of story I would imagine that we'll probably see some background and fallout, you know. I mean, there's got to be a backstory here. And I got a sick feeling. Okay, this story comes from Mail Online, and it's kind of a funny story. These realtors sued for using home they were supposed to be selling while they were using the home for late night sex. Well, evidently, these 2 realtors were supposed to be selling this house, and they would meet up and have sex all over this big, beautiful house. And the price that this house was listed was allegedly high. I guess they were asking something like $650,000 for this house. And in the complaint, the homeowner's complaint against these 2 sexual real estate agents is that they meaning the realtors, artificially set the price of the house high so it wouldn't sell, so that the 2 realtors would have this house to go and execute their sexual tryst. You know, how handy. Well, lo and behold, this is a very expensive house, and they had security cameras all over the house. You'd think the realtors would know that. And sure enough, the homeowners looked at the video and saw these 2 realtors making whoopee all over the house, including on the homeowner's bed, which totally grossed them out. Seeing somebody on a video making whoopee on your bed, I guess, causes a little bit of emotional trauma. And these 2 realtors, this one, the male really looks like a realtor. You know, he has the cap teeth and has that grin that looks like the grin for success. And then the woman looks knockout gorgeous. Ay, ay, ay. And they both look to be in their 40s. And the people that own the house are called the Wieners. The Wieners. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. The Wieners also claim that Lindsay and former Passaic County Board of Realtors president made a duplicate key and intentionally overpriced the home to discourage the buyers from December 2011 to January 2012. This is in the complaint. NorthJersey.com reports the couple is suing both Lindsay and Palin for committing the ultimate breach of trust, and Coldwell Banker, that was the company that the 2 sexy realtors worked for, and Coldwell is saying that the 2 realtors actually violated the Realtor Code of Ethics. I mean, there's got to be a line in there, no doinking in the customer's home. People have to be told that. According to the suit filed on December 6th, the Wieners began working with Lindsay and Coldwell in early 2010 when Lindsay reportedly told them the Wayne house would sell for $650,000. Wait, I want to get to the suit. Oh yeah, here we go. The suit says footage shows the pair allegedly hooking up many times until they were busted by the cops on January 23rd, 2012. Sandra Wiener happened to be checking the video cameras feed at the time and saw strange people in the house with what she thought were flashlights, the suit states. The house was dark at the time. The Wieners called the local police, who then sent to the house. The police opened the door to the house and found Lindsay pulling up his pants. Lindsay lied to the police by telling them that he was there to prepare the house for an open house. It says, after watching the footage, the Wieners claimed they could no longer use the bedroom or the remainder of the house and were uncomfortable and disgusted with being in their own house. That's part of in their complaint against the sexy real estate agents. The suit accuses Caldwell of violating Code of Ethics and Standards of Practice of National Association of Realtors, which requires that shall not deliberately mislead the owner as to the market value. At any rate, it's kind of a funny little story. I mean, how do you not know there's video cameras? I mean, maybe people put in security and the realtors don't know. I don't know. I just don't know how you make that kind of mistake. Yeah. It reminds me of my old best friend in high school, Bob Lee of Littleton, Colorado. When he was in high school, he had a job at Swedish Hospital to change out televisions. And he would entice his little girlfriends to meet him at Swedish Swedish Hospital, and they would do the nasty on an empty hospital bed. And it's interesting to note that Bob Lee was actually the chief of staff for Colorado Governor Bill Owens. Let's see here. I don't want to do that. It's too depressing. We only have 4 minutes left. You probably heard this. Love is blind, but the neighbors ain't. Oh, one of the things, I guess I'm going to end on this note. One of my most favorite quotes, or one of the things I've said recently that people have really seemed to enjoy. Let me see if I can find it here. I said something to the effect that most people really don't care what others do with their orifices. And a lot of people have really enjoyed that. And that's my response to everyone running around like a victim, in particular some of the fanatical gays, the militant gays. And the fact of the matter is that we don't really care what you do with your orifices. Really. Most of America does not care what anyone else does with their orifices. And people have responded to that quote, and it kind of resonates with people because, we're tired of having people's sex lives shoved down our throats. It's really kind of tedious. Oh, here, let me end on this. This is actually even a better way to end. This is a real brilliant quote from a black conservative again. And no, I don't know that this guy's a conservative, but he's a black guy, and he's obviously smart. And he says here, money attracts the females you want. Struggle attracts the woman you need. And I thought that was just brilliant. Money attracts the females you want. Struggle attracts the woman you need. All right, I thought that was just worth sharing. All right, everybody, drizzle, drazzle, drizzle, drone. Time for this prophet to go home.
6 seconds.
We'll see ya on Christmas.